Hi YouTube, it's Hoyt. I'm gonna be sharing a dream with you guys that I had last night. Last night, God showed me something extremely detailed and extremely disturbing. And I have to share this with you guys. This is very important. So I'm gonna get into it. So last night, I had a dream of Ukraine. God showed me in this dream the most, it was disturbing. I'm just gonna get right into it. So in this dream, I was overseeing a massive battle between the Russian military and the remains of the Ukrainian military. Now in this dream, I was like a drone camera. I was flying around the sky, overseeing this battle, and it was like a desolate, apocalyptic looking scene. It was just horrible. Craters everywhere, destroyed vehicles, you get the picture. Now in the dream, when I was in the sky, I saw like a person walking around on the ground. It was a dude like older than me, and he was pointing at the Russian soldiers and yelling. He said, "Russia should be condemned for invading Ukraine. Russia's evil. They shouldn't be here. They just want to kill and take everything." Like he was kind of just, that's what he was saying. And in the dream, I immediately said to him, I said, "Just wait till all the child trafficking and organ harvesting stuff comes out about Ukraine. And after that, you won't support Ukraine anymore." And he looked at me and he was like, "What? What are you talking about?" Like he didn't know that Ukraine is running a massive child trafficking ring and an organ harvesting operation. God showed me this. So yes, Ukraine child traffics kids on a massive scale, and they harvest people's organs. So what they do when people are dead or almost dead, like they're not going to make it, they're taking these people, they're carving them up, they're taking their organs and they're selling them on the dark web, on the black market. They're making money from dead people because they want money because they're greedy. And this is happening, like Ukraine is a hub for it. Putin knows this. This is why Putin sent his military to invade Ukraine. Now I'm going to get into this next part of the dream. In the dream, God showed me in like big, humongous, white, bold bubble letters. I saw like a sentence written out. It said, when Russia invaded Ukraine, it was a small invasion force. This invasion was a limited incursion of 63,000 troops. And then it said 63,000 Russian soldiers invaded Ukraine and killed 1 million Ukrainian soldiers with NATO gear. And in the dream, I after I read that, like in my mind, I said out loud, I said, wow, if 63,000 Russian soldiers can kill 1 million Ukrainian soldiers with NATO gear, imagine what they're going to be able to do during a full-scale invasion when they come here. And what I mean by here is the United States of America. If you don't already know, the United States of America is Mystery Babylon. And in Bible prophecy, Mystery Babylon falls in 1 hour, and we're going to fall to Russia and China alongside them. That's going to happen. God was highlighting in that part of the dream that not only is the news lying about the numbers of casualties and troops sent to Ukraine by a huge number, they're lying about everything. And they're also lying about the reason for invasion. Of course, NATO was encroaching on Russia's back door, which is very bad. But the real reason why Putin invaded is because the Western elites are running a massive child trafficking ring in Ukraine. Tons of little kids are going missing, and the Western elites go to Ukraine to have pleasure parties where they have their way, I'll say that, have their way with little kids, and they sell them for hundreds of thousands of dollars. They sell these little kids on the dark web, on the black market, and they also harvest people's organs. And when they're done with the bodies, they take the bodies, the remains, and they put it into the food source. So people are becoming cannibals unknowingly. And what's even worse is that everybody that's fighting for Ukraine, that's fighting against the Russian military, they are fighting to keep the child trafficking ring and the organ harvesting operations that they're doing in Ukraine, they're keeping that going. Russia's trying to stop it. That's why they invaded. So all these foreigners going to that country, the Ukrainian military itself, they are keeping that stuff running. And that is why all the Western countries, all the NATO countries are sending all these weapons and equipment to Ukraine, because they're trying to desperately protect their interest. And their interest in Ukraine is child trafficking and organ harvesting. They're trying to keep it going. And Putin knows about this, and Putin's trying to stop it. That's why I called it a special military operation. Now they say it's a real war, but from the beginning, even the Russian Spetsnaz, I've seen videos, even the Russian Spetsnaz have encountered this organ harvesting and child trafficking stuff in Ukraine in real life since the beginning. That's why they went there, and they know about it. Putin knows about it. This is why this war is happening, and there's no point to fight for that country, because you're fighting knowingly or unknowingly to keep that stuff going, and Putin's putting an end to it. Ukraine's not going to win against Russia. 63,000 Russian troops killed, 1 million Ukrainian troops in NATO gear. Russia's too big and too powerful. They're not going to win. Now, that was the first part of my dream. So the second part of my dream, I went from like being a drone camera in the sky to coming down to the ground. And in the dream, me and my friend Richard, you guys know him on YouTube as Eyes Open California, we were walking down this dirt road, and this massive battle that I saw between the Russian military and the Ukrainian military was over, and the Russian military won. And I saw like attack helicopters flying over, and the Russian troops were looking for like any remaining soldiers, and everything was smoking and smoldering. There was just tons of NATO equipment and gear and vehicles destroyed, and just tons of dead Ukrainian soldiers. The Russians just destroyed them. And in the dream, I specifically saw there was like this bunker place, like this underground tunnel, like bunker place. I don't know what you would call it. I saw this in my dream. In the dream, the Russian soldiers were fighting the Ukrainians. That's where most of the Ukrainian soldiers were, and in this underground place. And the Russian soldiers were fighting through this place. And at the end of the battle, it was just smoke. Like there was vehicles around this place and defenses, and there was just smoke and fire. Everything was smoldering and like charred, you know, like black. And at the end of the battle, the Russian soldiers came out of they went in, and then the 2 Russian soldiers came out of this tunnel place that I saw, underground tunnel place. And they were holding the hand of a little Ukrainian boy. He had to be like 7 or 8 years old. I don't even think he was like 9. That's like pushing it. He was little. And they're holding the hand to this little Ukrainian boy. And he was crying, and he was super dirty and filthy. Looked like he hadn't eaten in forever. And he was bloody, and his clothes were ripped. And he looked terrified. Terrified. And in the dream, one Russian soldier was holding his hand, and the other Russian soldier was wiping his tears off his face, and the kid looked like relieved. The reason why is because that underground place I saw was a child trafficking underground tunnel, and the Russian soldiers went to fight the Ukrainian military to kill them, to save those little kids in the underground place, and to also stop them from harvesting people's organs and turning people into cannibals unknowingly. And then after that, me and Richard, we were walking down the road, and we passed by the 2 Russian soldiers and that little Ukrainian boy. And we waved at them in the dream, and they waved back. And then they took that little boy to an armored truck. It was a green armored truck, and they put him in the truck, and the soldiers saved that little boy, and then they drove away, and then like helicopters flew over. And then I woke up from my dream. So when I woke up from my dream, man, I was just honestly disgusted that God showed me that that's happening. That's what's happening in Ukraine. That's why Putin invaded. And to kind of put things into perspective, imagine you're the US president and your enemies, so Russia and China are enemies to the United States. Your enemies are like in Mexico in this scenario. Your enemies are starting this massive troop buildup in Mexico. But not only that, you know that your enemies are child trafficking little kids, having pleasure parties, and organ harvesting people. And what they're doing with the remains of the bodies after organ harvesting is putting their bodies into the food supply, chopping them up, grinding them up in the meat grinder, and people are becoming cannibals. Imagine you were fighting an enemy like that and you knew it. You'd be disgusted and you would invade, like if you're the US president, you would invade Mexico, take out Russia and China, take out Mexico, take control of the country to stop the spread of that evil. That is what Putin's doing, because that's what happened in Ukraine. Putin's enemies are at his doorstep, and it's not only just about a war, it's about what's going on in the dark. These people, these Western elites do disgusting things in the dark, and Putin knows it. Putin's putting an end to it. And that's basically what's going on. So, yeah, it's gross. So, that was my dream. Do with this information what you must, and I recommend that you guys go vegetarian, because that's not the only country where cannibalism is starting. It's happening here too in the United States. But yeah, do with this information what you must, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye. God bless you.